North Island Powell River.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm incredibly proud to be here today speaking on Bill C-354, an act to amend the Department of Public Works and Government Services Act, Use of Wood. I want to thank the member of South Okanagan, West Kootenay, for working so hard on this bill. I appreciate that he understands the importance of the forestry sector and the economy, and in terms of the environmental sustainability it can provide. For the good people of North Island Powell River, who I have the pleasure of representing, this bill would require the Government of Canada to give consideration to the use of wood products when building, maintaining, or repairing federally owned properties. Decisions as to which construction materials to use would take into account the costs of the different materials balanced with the greenhouse gas footprint of the materials. After this assessment, the government can decide whether it is best to use wood or other materials. For the riding that I represent, it has a long history in the forestry sector. We have moved through the boom and bust cycles, have become more environmentally sustainable and creative in the many uses of wood. The days of the many mill towns that I used to represent have ended in our riding. We simply do not have the mills that we used to. Secondary processing is happening in small community businesses. And I can tell you, Madam Speaker, many people are frustrated as we watch raw logs floating on barges down the ocean. Once we processed them, and many of those good-paying jobs stayed in our region, and they are simply no longer there. This bill is asking the government to recognize the many difficulties that the forestry sector has faced over the past 20 years. Great advances have been made in tall wood construction, and it is now possible to construct large, safe wood buildings. It can be done quickly and economically. Madam Speaker, when we build with wood products, we know we lower the GHG emissions and we sequester more carbon than with other products. This is so important when we look at the GHG targets Canada has agreed to in the Paris Agreement. The Government of Canada is the largest procurer in Canada. The federal government can give this sector a real boost by using this cutting-edge technology here at home. Forestry communities are largely small, rural, and not Indigenous communities like the many that I represent. They work hard and know that the forestry is key to their economic and social development. These communities have had to be incredibly flexible and embrace massive changes very rapidly as the forestry industry has changed. What I think is so important about this bill is it means addressing the reality that wood does not currently enjoy even access to consideration in the market, and that similar policies in British Columbia and Quebec have made real strides in correcting this trend. Because, Madam Speaker, after over 2 decades of the Canadian forestry sector facing significant economic challenges, the response has been to come up with greater innovations and advances in technology that changes and increases what can be done with building with wood. Here is the challenge, though: getting builders and those procuring building construction to consider wood as a structural material for part or all of these projects. Madam Speaker, this is why this bill is really asking the federal government to take the lead on opening up doors and opportunities for the forestry industry. And I can promise you that this is very important to ridings like mine who are so integrated in the forestry sector. Madam Speaker, I believe that David Foster, Director of Communications, Canadian Home Builders Association, said it best. Quote, "When we recently saw that with 6-story wood frame construction, which moved from a curiosity into something that is fully embraced by our industry, I know there is huge interest in particularly cross-laminated construction. Every conference that I go to of our association, somebody has shown us amazing pictures of these buildings. It is really important in the cycle from when an innovation is developed to when it is in full commercial application. From our point of view, that's a process of de-risking something, and often it takes partnerships, it takes government encouraging and facilitating the transfer." End quote. Mr. Speaker, it is so important that the government take a leadership role in de-risking this area. We need to see these opportunities building. We know it's so important for so many communities. And this is not about making wood something that is more prominent than the other areas. It is really about giving an even playing field and allowing this sector to actually play in this way. Madam Speaker, on May the 16th, I will be traveling to Port McNeill in my riding to celebrate the inaugural Forestry Proud Day event. People from forestry companies, contractors and consultants, forestry educators, First Nations, training organizers, local government, provincial government, and so many more will be there to celebrate the importance of this industry. It is a significant community event in our area. And I know that across my riding, be it the communities of Zabala, Swass, Campbell River, Tassus, Gold River, Port Hardy, Port McNeill, Powell River, just to name a few, forestry has always been a part of the culture, the economy, and the community. It has had to change rapidly with the times. I think of the program in WAS right now, a 12-week fundamentals in forestry program with 12 students that is going very well, according to Pat English, Manager of Economic Development for the Regional District of Mount Waddington. These programs are so incredibly important to small communities because they not only help retain the young people in the community, it also helps attract young people to see the opportunities that are there. These programs really allow young people to come, to stay in the small communities where the industry is so much still alive. It is so important, Madam Speaker, that the government remember all sectors, that they remember that small communities are working hard every day to provide opportunities and maintain stability in their communities. I am so happy to be here today to speak on this bill and to speak in support of this bill. It's time that we remember forestry economies, we remember those communities, and we provide those opportunities for them to move forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.